women from my part of the country. For us, it's taken us very, very long to be where we are today. Simply because I think we've been pretty much cut off from the mainstream for a very long time. My mission to empower as many women as possible financially.
I'm Madhu Singh Sirohi, Head of Policy Programs and Outreach at Meta in India. And I'm here today in conversation with a very inspirational woman leader, Ms. Jesmina Zeliang, founder of Heirloom Naga. Jesmina, a very warm welcome. We're delighted to have you as a part of our Her Stories of Strength campaign with Indian Express. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Madhu, for inviting me here. I feel completely honored and humbled to be part of your campaign. Thank you once again. Yeah.
That's really great that you could join us today. I would like to kickstart today's conversation by talking a little bit about your journey. Your journey as an entrepreneur, especially as someone coming from, an area like Nagaland, which is, we've not heard enough about the great work that's been done by the craftspersons, the entrepreneurs in that area. And, you may be aware that Her Stories of Strength initiative is about highlighting inspirational women leaders. There could be entrepreneurs, there could be mothers, there could be healthcare workers all across India. And we would love to hear a little bit from, your side of the country, hear about your journey as such an inspirational entrepreneur. So over to you. And I'd love to understand that, how did you start? I know your journey has actually been a fairly long one, and you have been working in the area of entrepreneurship for over 3 decades. So it would be lovely to share with the people who are listening into us highlights from your journey, and I'm sure it'll inspire a lot of different people.
Thank you once again, Madhu. Yes, you're right. Women from my part of the country, for us, it's taken us very, very long to be where we are today. Simply because I think we've been pretty much cut off from the mainstream for a very long time. Having said that, I often think aloud that I'm actually an accidental entrepreneur. And I'm surprised at myself that I have been able to sustain my work or business, as you may put it, this far, given the fact that the handmade sector is so disturbingly disorganized in the country. And seriously speaking, if truth be told, I really did not have any business model or a concept, no plan, no business data, nor any inkling even of the weft and warp. Forget conceptualizing a brand. However, I think I was completely fueled by my love for everything handmade, and by this acute awareness that although we came from a region which was very high and rich in textiles and crafts, whatever was available back in the day was mostly traditional in its format. And hence, although it was widely appreciated, it didn't have much meaning or relevance to a customer outside the state. Allow me to, if I were to journey back in time, I used to often see this young weaver who lived just below my house weaving on her traditional loom. And it was, very much a very simple, spontaneous act of mine by approaching her very casually, saying that, hey, can we do something new with your loom? Remember that I had no idea about the Western warp. She looked at me and she said, okay, why not? So with almost a zero investment, by just buying some yarn from the market, I gave it to her. And you know what I gave her? I found a cushion cover from a mirror embedded cushion cover from Burjari, if you remember the Gujarat Emporium.
Yes.
It was the rage in my time. And I gave that to her so that she could relate to the product, number one. And number two, she could also use it as a yardstick for sizing. That was it. So with a little oral instructions from my side and her expertise on the loom, we sort of came up with a very small collection of soft furnishings. And let me tell you that they were so beautiful and they were so novel that the sheer novelty of it all, cemented, my business. Not only my business, but also heralded a sort of new beginnings for traditional Naga textiles. And soon all Naga textiles that you would see, people refer to it to as the, tasseled cushions. But before that, I had undergone the whole rigmarole of, looking for a formal job. As soon as I came back from a college, after a college education outside the state, I looked for a formal job, didn't get any. I also attempted a slew of small businesses. I think in today's lingo, you will call it a startup. I'm so tired of all the jargon that's flying around these days. But in my time, it was very simple. I attempted so many small businesses, nothing worked out. And finally, I found my bearings by working in the craft sector. And, the brand was named as Heirloom Naga. And right from day one, whatever we made was quickly lapped up by a very evolved sort of a customer base in the metro cities. I had like mentors like from all leading lifestyle stores in the country even back in the day, and I found great confidence in the fact that I was onto something good because whatever we were making was immediately being exported to very well entrenched brands back in the day called the Habitat, the Convent Shop, Crate and Barrel, to name a few. I had a complete bull run in the 90s. So I had started off with just one weaver. I grew to 3, then to 5, and all of them were happily accommodated in my backyard. And soon this backyard activity became so large because we had so many orders that I had to ship them to a sort of working shed in a nearby village. So that was it. And so it was on my part, it was a constant struggle because of the remoteness of the region and because there was very little facilities available to us. There was no connectivity. People didn't even know where we came from, mind you. And it was a constant struggle for me to remain rooted in the market, as well as to seek, continuous work for my ever-growing band of weavers. But around the same time, I also, talking about crafts, I also started a line of tableware and furniture in cane and bamboo with a few male artisans. And in retrospect, without going to a business school, I think it was a brilliant business move because whenever the orders in the textiles were slim, the hard goods would sort of prop up our business. Yeah. So the basket of products that we had sort of ensured that I had a sustainable business even back in the day. Having said that, I learned everything on my own. I wore multiple hats. I was the designer with no design background to talk about. I was the production in charge. I was, I was in charge of sales. I was in charge of logistics. And when I say logistics, that was one of the main hurdles that many of us from the region still face. I had to resort to ingenious methods to, send goods outside the state. And let me tell you that we are more of a consumer state. Yeah. So I resorted to, using transporters like the Maruti trailers, which would go back empty, and then they would carry my goods at a fraction of the price. So this is how, I came around. But like I said earlier, the 90s, I had a bull run. Entered the millennium. I could see that my novelty was wearing off. And not only that, I was reaching a saturation point. So around that same time, I was very fortunate to come in contact with the Export Promotion Council for Handicrafts, which is the apex body of Indian exporters. And by doing so, I was able to get a direct access to overseas customers by participating in their fairs. And I was also mentored by the Dutch government in export marketing, which took my business to another level altogether. So sitting right out of Dimapur, by participating in all these B2B fairs, we have been able to export to as many as 30 countries. So for many of you listening to me today, it may not be of much significance to you, but coming from a state, which has the longest political strife in the country, and the political climate, therefore, like deters, investment and development. Therefore, I feel that we have done pretty well for ourselves by, spotlighting the region and by sending out positive vibes instead of always being tagged as a, disturbed state. And in doing so, we have trained and partnered and skilled with thousands of weavers and artisans over the 2 decades, not only in Nagaland, but I've also formed like successful clusters in my neighboring states like Manipur, Meghalaya, to begin with. And currently, as I speak to you, we are providing direct employment to as many as 450 women weavers who are all home-based, and another 300 plus male artisans, and many more in the value chain. Like speaking of women home-based weavers, it gives me immense pleasure to work with women, because in Nagaland, unlike other communities, the textiles and the craft sector is pretty very gendered. Women are relegated to textiles and men are relegated to hard goods. And it's considered a social taboo for men to weave. So in that sense, women have a complete monopoly over their work. And I feel a great sense of empathy and connection with them, because I understand completely how crucial it is for women everywhere to be financially independent. Being a single parent myself, or two boys for the longest time, it is my mission to empower as many women as possible financially.
That's awesome. I am so inspired. A couple of observations. I'll begin by talking about Gurjari. From my college days, this word was very
Yes.
common. So it was so lovely to hear it from someone after
Yeah.
so long,
Yeah.
Gurjari. But a couple of things I hear, if it's correct, Jesmina, is that, you tried many different hats. You didn't let stuff discourage you. I think what is very important is to pit, to try, to experiment, find your niche. You don't necessarily, what in theory you think will work does not sometimes play out in practice. So I think that's a very inspirational message to understand that when you're trying something as passionate as entrepreneurship, don't be discouraged too early. And, you have to sort of play around, try a few permutations and combinations before you possibly, hit gold. And I like the idea
Yes.
of, I love the passion in your voice when you talk about empowering women entrepreneurs and empathizing with them, because I completely agree with you. I believe that personally also, that the more we come out and hold a hand out to women, they have tremendous potential. They just need that opportunity and a little bit of a support structure, and they're ready to blossom. So very exciting first thoughts from you, Jesmina. Now come the 2010s onwards, there was an advent of technology like we've never known. It began with smartphones. It moved very quickly to being online and then social media. I'd love to understand, if at all this period was different for you than the earlier years, and how did Heirloom Naga look at this phase? And also, I'd love to understand if any of your women artisans or men artisans also are also affected by this new technology coming in.
I keep telling the millennial kids that you people are so fortunate. You are born with a golden spoon. During my time, the yellow pages was my Bible. I used to be like the pesky sales girl, holding the yellow pages in my hand and going door to door trying to sell my wares. And in fact, I just remember one very funny incident. Um, Walking into, in those days, Khazana store at the Taj was the most luxurious store. I remember, finding it in the yellow pages. I walked into the Taj Hotel, very scared, like a total sales girl, full of samples, and landing up in the kitchen instead, because I didn't know which door to go to. So, we have come a long way since, and in fact, one of the first export merchandisers from Fab India, she sent me a fax in the 90s saying that, Polly from the Conran shop says that, your goods are so unique and novel. I said, who is Polly and who is the Conran shop? Because, we didn't have any access to any technology, so to speak.
Right.
And we were
Right.
just resorting to the fax machines and the usual trunk calls once in a while. Over a period of time, I think, like, cut to post 2000, things have become so much easier to. It's so much easier to connect with customers. Number one, on the mail.
Right.
Number two, by having a presence having a presence in the social media, it has also allowed so much of visibility into the work that we do. Of course, like, for somebody like me, it took me very long, like, coming from the old school of thought, to actually understand and have a pulse of the market. That yes, Instagram and platforms like Instagram can really take you to another level. And so during the pandemic, if I have to talk about it, my business zoomed, doubled.
Wow.
I can't even begin to tell you how incredible it was. People from customers from all over the world were connecting with us on Instagram, on mail, on our website, even on WhatsApp, because my number was in the website. It got so intense that I employed 8 more people, girls, meaning, in my admin staff. I even organized a makeshift, a lodging facility for my chief export executive, so that together she and I, like, during that intense COVID period, we could, cater to all the customer queries, and to stay connected with all our artisans and our weavers, because we had so many orders, and we found, other than the standing orders, we had so many new customers from Australia, from Japan, from US. It was unbelievable. It was then I learned that, wow, like, we are onto something so good with technology and with platforms like on the social media.
I believe you also started some platform during the pandemic time. I was
Yes,
thinking about it. We'd love to know a little bit more about that with respect to the pandemic.
yes. Oh, so the pandemic for me was a blessing in disguise. There were so many craft crusaders who would call me so very often, and, like, literally spelling doomsday. And I was like, my business has zoomed. We have not been impacted at all by the COVID. They stopped calling me. It was as if people wanted to hear only stories of loss, and stories that people were getting retrenched, and people were not having enough to eat. In our case, we were very, very fortunate. Here's a big shout out to MSME, the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises. They gave us a facility to build a common facility center, which is a little outskirts of town. And around the center, we connect with at least 10 of our clusters. And in each cluster, we have 30 plus artisanal weavers. I cannot tell you during that period how many people we impacted, because just before that, in the center, we had imparted training to many women. Women these days, and particularly girls, like, there is a decline in many young girls wanting to get into the art of or craft of weaving. So we thought, like, how do we, increase our network of women home workers? And I thought that, let me teach them some other skills. And through some skill development programs, we taught them how to weave bamboo mats, which we then use to line up, our trays, which are very famous. And also we taught them how to we diversified our product portfolio, so to speak, by redesigning new wall decor items, etc. So we impacted more than 200 plus, school dropouts, young girls, and also women who had stopped weaving because of several problems. Because the loom that we use causes quite a lot of strain on the woman's back, because everything is held around her back, and therefore after a point of time they don't. So to continue collaborating with more women, we formed this platform whereby we said, okay, now we teach this set of women skills other than weaving. And during this entire period, my center became a vibrant such a vibrant hub of activity. All the men would be running, scurrying in and out, carrying the finished products. And here, when I talked about hard goods, we worked specifically at that time with bamboo. Now, bamboo is a resource which is grown, as a tree is grown in most of the weavers' backyard. So they didn't have any shortage of raw material. And we were just simply using WhatsApp, we were simply using the email to send them designs, to send them orders. And the men would take special permission from their headmen, village headmen. They were very, very strict in allowing and disallowing visitors into their villages. And they would come hurrying into our center with the finished goods, and they would take back the wages. And we also lent out a lot of micro loans, because most of the home workers that work with us, their spouses or the immediate loved ones in the family are all daily wage earners. And so there was a lot of impact in their lives. So in this way, the platform that we created for women other than weavers, really shown on its own.
That's really, really great to know, Jesmina. And I think it's just wonderful how you are sort of using your ecosystem to empower so many different people. As we wind up today, I also wanted you to talk a little bit to young entrepreneurs who are coming up, not only in the east, north, south of India, but, across the country. Broad learnings from you. They would really benefit from understanding that what is it that they can keep in mind. Any advice for people starting out today? And, any thoughts at all of how they can use platforms like WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, for that to be a part of their journey in enterprise? So any advice for the youngsters or for anyone actually starting out?
Yeah. Well, I think it's very, very important, and to stay afloat, to develop, to find your own style, to find your own stamp, to find your own signature. I think it's also equally important to, in that same line, you need to be original. I mean, being original is what's going to set anyone apart. So that's my message to them. Other than that, I would advise any of them who are trying to grow their business or trying to start a new business, or any professional, to literally exploit the digital highway. Take undue advantage of the tools that are before you, and unlock the inner strength and energy and power that you have. And in doing so, empower yourself first financially, and also onboard other women whom you can empower. And in doing so, trust me, all of us women will find our own strong seat at the table.
That's fantastic. I mean, I literally feel like I could sit and talk to you all day and learn from you, Jesmina, but unfortunately we are bound by time. But what a pleasure it has been, firstly, to meet you today and to have a chat with you. And I hope everyone who has had the opportunity to hear Jesmina has taken back something from her wonderful journey of 3 decades, and also her introduction to technology and her words of advice on how we can leverage these fantastic opportunities that we have today to move forward in the sphere of anything that we might be doing, whether it be health, creation, or it could be entrepreneurship. Thank you so much for listening in to us today, and have a good day.
Thank you, Babu.